Hi, my name's Becky and I'm the owner of Merry Maids North Sussex. I wanted to make a video about my personal experience of dementia within my family as a bit of a tribute really to my granddad, who is the person that I've had that I've lost closest to me due to dementia. I wanted to talk about things that as a family we didn't notice early on that we should have done, in the hope that maybe that helps somebody else spot some symptoms. I think Alzheimer's UK are doing an amazing job of raising awareness. I've been a lot more involved with them of recent years because it's personal to me, but they have a huge presence now, and there are symptoms checkers, checklists that you can fill in and take to your GP, all sorts. So I just wanted to talk about my own personal experience. So the person that I've lost fairly recently, 4 years ago in September, but it still feels very recent. Grief is an ongoing thing, isn't it? As you can tell, because this is the third time I think I've started this video and my eyes are a little bit wet. So yeah, my granddad was a huge part of my life growing up. I lost he's my maternal granddad. I lost my paternal granddad when I was a baby, so I only knew my granddad as a granddad. And he wouldn't mind me saying this, but he was a wally. He was, if he said anything, it was funny. He, he'd weigh in a conversation just to get a little jibe or a poke, a dig, a joke, something in, and sort of whenever he joined in there was laughter. As a kid I very fondly remember my nan and granddad bouncing off each other in conversation. My nan always ended up laughing. Well, both of them did, we all did. It was lovely. He was always, I'm the eldest grandchild, he was always involved with all of us. We used to go out, he used to take us to Camp Sands, all sorts. He was very active, larger than life, funny, cuttingly funny. Yeah, just an amazing person all round. In the summer of 2016, as a family we went on holiday, so it was my mum, it was my family. I went with my mum, my dad, my brother, our partners, my nan and my granddad, to Lanzarote, which is was one of their favourite places to go. They've been there a few times, we've been there a few times. We knew what we were doing, it was lovely. But whilst we were away, my nan and my granddad had a huge row. It made my nan cry, and it was so unlike them to ever have an argument. And I was, I'm an adult then, so I had a chat with them both, and I can't remember what it was over, but it was something so silly. And again, just so unlike them, we just sort of moved on from it. But later on that holiday, he went missing. He just wandered off on his own, which he's very sociable. It wasn't something that we thought he'd do. It just seemed a bit strange. So my husband, well, he wasn't my husband at the time, my fiance? No, he was my husband. I'm sorry, Greg. He was my husband at the time. We got married in 2012. We went for a walk around the place that we were staying, and we actually, my husband and I, found my granddad sitting on a rock in the middle of a bit of wasteland, just staring off into space. So we sort of stood there and left him for a minute, let the family know that we'd found him and he was fine, and I took a bit of a walk over, just asked if he was okay, and he was so confused as to why he was there, and it did set off alarm bells. But I have to confess, dementia isn't what immediately sprung to mind. Things moved on from there, the holiday ended, he was by and large present, but there were just a couple of instances that were a bit peculiar. But that was 2016, as I said, we lost him a few years ago. Things went quite downhill from there. He started to become less and less involved in conversation, and we discovered basically that he was losing the capability to create speech, to talk. He couldn't talk. He slowly lost the ability to eat properly. He was drinking soup basically, and in the space of a few short years, we were left with a shell of my granddad, really. He used to sit in the corner at that dining table in the back room and listen. And we always used to for want of a better expression, talk to him. He got involved with therapy nurses to try and help him to swallow, to eat more food, to help him with speech. But he went downhill and never really came back in a positive way. He had a few falls as well, eventually ended up in hospital and never came out. It's funny, he sat there, but he wasn't really there. And it's almost, dementia is, depending on the stage that you're at and the symptoms, it's almost like losing someone you love every day, because you go in, or you get up and you see this person, but they're not who they used to be, who you're used to them being. But you try and treat them that way, and you try and include them, not really knowing how included they feel. But every now and then you get, it's almost painful, a little glimmer of the person that you used to know. As an example, when my granddad was in hospital, despite living miles away, I made an effort to go in and see him as regularly as I could. He used to be into musicals and all sorts, and I used to go in and play him music, sit with him, talk at him, tell him about Izzy, his great-granddaughter, who, bless his heart, by the time she arrived, he couldn't really interact with, but she fondly remembers him crawling around on the floor making dinosaur noises, so it brings me some comfort that on some level they managed an interaction that obviously has stuck with her, so that's nice. But anyway, in the hospital I visited, and they were looking at moving into a hospice, and the last time I saw him I got an overwhelming sense that it was the last time I was going to see him, and it quite upset me, and I struggled to leave. But as I did, I blew him a kiss, and I'd never really got much interaction out of him, apart from every now and then he'd tell me he was itchy, indicate that he needed me to scratch something. But as I was leaving, I blew him a kiss, and it knocked me for 6 because he blew me one back, bless his heart. So yeah, that was the last time that I saw him. And you do question whether you should have done more in the early stages, whether you should have made more of a fuss. So yeah, I guess if I could pass on any advice in my wholly unqualified state other than I miss my granddad, I'd strongly recommend that if you notice anything, confusion, memory loss, changes in behaviour, there are other symptoms, look them up, that you talk to your loved one, that you talk to your GP, and see what can be done to help them. I know there are so many unknowns with dementia. One of my concerns, it's a very selfish concern, well, depending on how you look at it, but I was concerned because I lost my dad's mum to dementia and lung cancer, but also dementia fairly recently, last year, and I was concerned that dementia was perhaps hereditary. I've done my research, and in most cases it's not, but having watched it affect hugely one person that I love, and secondarily another person that I love, you do worry about, I worry about my parents developing dementia, I worry about spotting it and helping them, and I worry about it affecting myself and how that will affect my family, and it is something that needs more attention and more focus. So I'm proud that Merry Maids North Sussex is involved with a fundraising effort, that Merry Maids UK as a whole stands behind Alzheimer's UK Dementia Friends, and I think it's a fitting tribute to those that we've loved and lost, that we all just stand behind their research, behind their fundraising efforts, and help them wherever we can, because I don't know what the statistic is, if I'm perfectly honest, but most people I know have been touched by it one way or another. So sending love to my granddad, to my nan, and to everyone else that has lost or been lost, lost someone or been lost to dementia. It is such a cruel way, I think, to lose somebody. And this feels very negative. So on the positive, let's all stand together and support in any and every way we can.